Welcome to Women in Digital Business. This is Masikim. I'm a lead trainer at WIDB. Thank you.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Mi nombre es Lizeth Salcedo, soy de Ica, Perú, y les damos la bienvenida a Mujeres Emprendedoras hacia la Digitalización.
Welcome to Women in Digital Business.
Hello, welcome in Women Digital Business.
Welcome to Women in Digital Business.
Welcome to Women in Digital Business.
Welcome to Women in Digital Business.
Welcome in Women Digital Business.
Hi, welcome to Women in Digital Business.
Welcome to Women in Digital Business.
Bienvenidas a Mujeres Emprendedoras hacia la Digitalización.
This is Women in Digital Business. Karibu.
Wow, what a way to kick off our session. Thank you so much for that. And again, welcome everyone to our webinar, which is today hosted by the Women in Digital Business Initiative, which is a global initiative that is jointly implemented by Microsoft Philanthropies, the International Labour Organization, and the International Training Center of the ILO. My name is Sarah Anderson. I'm a technical officer with the ILO's Women's Entrepreneurship Development Program, and I will be moderating today's session. And I want to remind you again, in case you have just joined us, that for those of you who do prefer to listen in to this webinar in French or in Spanish, you can change the language settings under More in your upper right corner. So the session today, which we have titled Partnering to Empower Women Entrepreneurs in the Digital Age, we will have the opportunity to learn more about the Women in Digital Business Initiative. We will hear some about the results that we have achieved so far, but above all, we will also share with you how you can engage and how you can collaborate and become part of the Women in Digital Business Initiative. We will also, in our second part of the webinar, broaden the focus a little bit of our discussion, and we will talk more about the partnerships or the role of partnerships and the role of different stakeholders in supporting women entrepreneurs in participating and in thriving in the digital economy. And we have a great panel with us for that segment of the session. With that said, I would like to now hand over to our first speakers who will be delivering some opening remarks. So first, I would like to hand over the word to Anupama Shekhar, who is the Senior Director of Skills for Social Impact with Microsoft Philanthropies. Anupama, thank you so much again for joining us, and over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And so wonderful to see all the messages coming in the chat, to see everyone who's on the call. I just want to start by saying a huge welcome to everyone. As Sarah said, I'm Anu. I lead the Skills for Social Impact program team within Microsoft Philanthropies. And it's truly an honor to be here to welcome such a diverse group from the entrepreneurial ecosystem, including training institutes, financial institutions, NGOs, and other supporters of women entrepreneurship programs, and not forgetting the real change makers themselves, the women entrepreneurs. So first and foremost, I'm excited to see the real impact that our international public-private initiative is building through access to digital and entrepreneurship skills and culturally relevant training for women to thrive in what we're seeing is a fast evolving AI-enabled economy. I was in fact just 2 weeks ago out in New York for the UN General Assembly, where UNDP and ITU recognized the Women in Digital Business Program as an SDG digital solution by the UN. So huge congratulations to both the ITC ILO and the ILO for our successful partnership in providing what's a truly unique solution that has already trained 25,000 women entrepreneurs across over 15 countries. And what we're seeing is that AI is no longer a distant future. It is here. It's reshaping how we work. It's reshaping how we lead, how we drive change. And as we navigate this era of unprecedented digital transformation, it is imperative that we harness the potential of AI not just as a tool, but as a partner in our quest for a more inclusive and empowered society. What we're seeing is that nearly every role in the workforce can benefit from AI to not only enhance productivity, but also creativity. And AI is reshaping our approach to problem solving, to collaboration, and really allowing us to transcend those traditional barriers of work. And we as Microsoft, we are trying to bring our expertise to the Women in Digital Business program on the future of skills demands, on what skills entrepreneurs and companies need now and in the future. And we are providing access to critical AI fluency skills in partnership with the ITC ILO and the ILO through new learning pathways that are being integrated into the program design. And with learning, tailored learning tracks, WIDB, the Women in Digital Business program, ensures that women entrepreneurs, including those in remote communities, can build the digital proficiency that they need to succeed. Just a few data points from our LinkedIn economic graph data. Globally, skills are projected to change by 50% by 2030. So starting from 2016 to 2030, there's that 50% change that's expected. And generative AI specifically is expected to accelerate this change to 68%. And when we surveyed users, through our Modern Work Trend Index, users say that AI helps them save time. 90% of users say that AI helps them save time. They also say that it helps them focus on their most important work, and also to help them be more creative and enjoy their work more and really focus on those uniquely human skills. Our commitment in Microsoft Philanthropies is to ensure that this transformation is inclusive. We really bringing everyone along in the journey. We believe in that democratization of technology, in giving every individual the tools that they need to succeed. And through digital empowerment, WIDB, not only transforms individual businesses, but also strengthens communities, creating those ripple effects that drive sustainable economic growth and social development. Today, we invite interested institutions, organizations, and individuals to join us in supporting this initiative by applying directly through the platform, and also helping women entrepreneurs build a brighter digital future for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anu, for these encouraging and inspiring words, and also for sharing some insights there on new developments like AI that we see are taking over the digital space. I would like to next hand over the word to Andreas Klemmer, who is the Director of Training with ITC ILO. So Andreas, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. So good morning, good day, good evening to all of you. Special welcome also to Anu and Ree. I guess particularly for colleagues from Asia, this is already late evening, so apologies for delaying your dinner. Very briefly, I would basically want to answer one question. Why is ITC ILO involved in this? And then pave the way also to hand over to Ree to describe more also why and how ILO is involved. So for starters, for colleagues in the call, this might be the majority who do not necessarily know what ITC ILO means. We are the International Training Center of the International Labour Organization. I don't have to introduce Microsoft, but ITC ILO is not necessarily such a household name familiar to everybody. So we are based in Torino with a learning faculty of about 130 staff, and we offer capacity development services for ILO constituents and other ILO development partners on how to promote social justice through decent work. And you can cluster our services roughly into two groups. One is training on and other services on rights at work and good labor market governance. And the second cluster would be thematically linked to jobs and protection. And the Women Digital Business Project is linked to this second thematic cluster. That's why I'm referring to it. It's about jobs and protection, and more specifically about jobs. Let me dive a little bit deeper what this link means for the ILO, and Ree might explain a bit more. When we talk about jobs, we talk about employment-rich growth, employment policy, employability skills linked to wage employment, but also self-employment promotion, and here specifically small and medium-scale enterprise development and women entrepreneurship development more specifically. So the link between ITC ILO and the Women in Digital Business Project is overall objective promoting social justice through decent work, through, in this case, promotion of employment-rich growth, through, in this case, promotion of self-employment, through, in this case, the promotion of small and medium-scale enterprises run by women here. Now, when you look at our service portfolio, and that brings me to this webinar proper, we offer training, as the name implies. but we also offer organizational development support and nota bene system level capacity development support. And the webinar today is linked to our portfolio of system level capacity development services. So there is no training today, really. Nobody's trained today. This is about knowledge exchange. This is about networking, and this is about advocacy. In this case, advocating for women in digital business. This is an activity that seeks to link actors in the ecosystem around women in digital business to work together and promote together more effectively social justice through decent work. So this webinar today, that's called Partnering to Empower Women in the Digital Age, is a platform for you to network. It's a platform to learn more about one another, and it's a platform to advocate the cause of women in digital business. This is when I pass back to Sarah and over to Ree to explain a bit more what this means for ILO. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Andreas, for those words and for positioning the Women in Digital Business initiative, I guess, within the realm of the work of ITC ILO. So next, I would like to introduce and hand over then to Ree Weiss-Kjelgaard, who is the Director of the Department of Sustainable Enterprises, Productivity and Just Transition, to also deliver the opening remarks on behalf of the ILO. So Ree, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And good morning, good afternoon, and even good evening to those participants that are logging in from a variety of time zones. So I want to say, I think it's already been extremely well contextualized by Anupama and also by Andreas, but let me add a few points. And my first point would definitely be a very big thank you to Microsoft, but also to Turin, so to Anu and to Andreas for inviting also ILO into this partnership and let us be part of not only the opening, but also of the project. I want to say that the women in digital business or women entrepreneurship development or entrepreneurship in a wider sense, let alone women empowerment and gender equality, these are absolutely strategic priorities of the ILO. You may already know how important this is to the ILO because we are a UN specialized agency that has had that focus of including all and providing decent work opportunities to all since our birth, basically. So it also means, and Andreas has very well spoken to that where you are not having a salaried job, you are looking at livelihoods or entrepreneurship opportunities to create a good life for yourself. Hence the focus on entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship in particular, because disproportionately women do have less access to good jobs, good business opportunities, and that includes also the situation we see in the digital business context. Now, I also want to quickly share with you that the Director General of the ILO will continue to have a very strong strategic focus on women entrepreneurship and women equality, women empowerment. And that is also further framed in a context of digital economy, digital technologies, because that is not only an option, it's a condition of the economic and social environment that we function in. A second point I want to make is that the reason why ILO is very much engaged in sustainable enterprise development is, again, because we need to see actual impact on how women, men alike, but let's focus on the women, how they get access to livelihood and business opportunities. And again, I reiterate, they are disproportionately not having the same access or enjoying the same benefits. So this is why we are looking at how, when there is not a salaried job, how can business opportunities, business development and entrepreneurship be opportunities, including in the digital space. And I want to look at the women in digital business as a model that has already demonstrated its own value, that we need to see even further how it is establishing social impact of a scale. We really need to see the impact and scaling up the impact. The ILO works with our constituents, so the government and the workers and the employers. They are part of that, and they will be asking, how does this actually work? What impact does it deliver, and how can it be sustained? Because at the end of the day, this has to happen at country level. There, the capacity to promote the women in digital business or women entrepreneurship needs to be absolutely sufficient to sustain such models. The third point I want to say is that without the partnership like what we have here among Microsoft, Turin, and ILO, this is not going to happen. And already the power of this partnership is very impressive. And it's also very clear that if we need to have the impact I just spoke about and be able to sustain it, even more partnerships will be required. And I think the complementarity between not only the three partners that we are in the intervention or in the model here, it's also many more partnerships that will be needed to ensure that we can actually scale up on the impact and sustain it. So I welcome very much that it is explored further how can additional partners with their complementarities, their particular value add come in to work on the women in digital business model and take it further into a even more strong and sustained and impactful model. And I want to say, going in that direction, please know that ILO is hopeful that not only the technical expertise that we have continued or we have provided, that we can continue to provide that. It is an area that we have built expertise in, as I said, since basically the beginning. We would want to be a partner with you, bringing that technical expertise to the table and to the future work as well. And then I wish everyone best of luck with the event today. And thank you again for inviting us to do opening remarks.
Thank you so much to Yuri, and again also to Anu and to Andreas. I think we all heard your messages around the need for action to address the gender digital divide and ensure women's access to digital technologies, the markets to be able to start to grow and their enterprises, but also to access decent work and other opportunities, but also your kind invitations to the audience to also join us in the Women in Digital Business initiative. So we will move on to the next agenda item, which is an introduction of the Women in Digital Business initiative. And this presentation will be delivered by Carlo Delu, who is a technical officer of the ITC ILO and also the person who's running the Women in Digital Business initiative on a day-to-day basis. So over to you, Carlo.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarah, for that introduction, and thanks to the colleagues for the very nice opening remarks. And also, I would like to extend my thanks overall to the leadership in ITC-ILO, in ILO, and in Microsoft for making this possible. As Sarah was saying, I think I'm seeing a lot of names that I know in the list. So I think I have been in touch and been speaking and exchanging with many of the people here in the call. But for those who don't know me, indeed, as Sarah said, I work on a day-to-day basis on the Women in Digital Business initiative. Of course, I'm not the only one looking after the project. As you know, you've met the rest of the team, for those of you who are lead trainers with us in the past. And indeed, I would like to spend a few minutes to talk about the Women in Digital Business initiative so far and how it has evolved in the past 2 years, and then also to have a look at the contributions that many of you, lead trainers and women entrepreneurs, have been sending to us. And you've already seen a little snapshot of that earlier in the curtain raiser. So the Women in Digital Business initiative, you've heard, is an initiative that brings together 3 organizations, the ILO, the ITC-ILO, and Microsoft, philanthropies in this case. And it is an initiative that we actually started discussing. I remember this was at the end of 2021. my manager, Linda, called me saying, look, we have this potential new initiative with Microsoft. We need to prepare a proposal for them. And it's been a sort of long-term exchange and discussion with all parties involved, Microsoft, ILO, and ITC-ILO, to come up with a program design that made sense. And we actually took the bulk of 2022 to design the initiative. And we came up with a mission for us, for ourselves as organizations, but also with your support, as you all know. And the mission we had, if I get back to it, was to promote women's economic empowerment by supporting women entrepreneurs in low and middle income countries to position themselves strategically through digitalization. So I think the colleagues who spoke before me already underlined the importance of women's economic empowerment as a driver for social justice and decent work. And we were thinking of how can we promote that empowerment. And the partnership with Microsoft, of course, was built around the topic of digitalization. So our goal was to make digital skills training accessible to those who often are not able to access that type of support and of skills, which in the case at hand is women entrepreneurs in countries where resources are less readily available. And that's where we decided to run with this sort of tried and tested training of trainers program and approach that we use at ILO and ITC-ILO in several different areas. And the short of it is that we have a relatively small program management unit. The last count, I think it's sort of 5 or 6 of us working on this on a sort of part-time basis from the 3 organizations. And of course, we wouldn't be able to go out and train women entrepreneurs directly, and we wouldn't want to, right? We would want actors that are active in the local entrepreneurship ecosystems, that are advocates for women's empowerment in their own countries. And that's where we decided to go with this model where we are training a group of lead trainers, and the group of lead trainers is actually becoming larger and larger as we speak. So today has been a bit of a full immersion into the initiative for Sarah, myself, and the other colleagues. We actually come out of an opening webinar on the Women in Digital Business training of lead trainers in French just today. So we are keeping going with these training of lead trainers to empower a group of like-minded individuals who are able to train other trainers themselves, but then most importantly, train the women entrepreneurs in their community. And the targets that we set back then, when we came with the initial design, this was sort of mid to end October or 2022, was to train at least 500 lead trainers, 2,500 trainers, and 30,000 women entrepreneurs. And you'll see that we'll most likely have to revisit those goals as we are getting dangerously close to it, despite still having sort of half of the timeline of the project available to us. And the question is now, how do we do it? And we have a few different pieces that are coming in. The training of lead trainers that I mentioned is one, where we work with you, and many of the names I see here are from active lead trainers that we're working with, or lead trainers that joined. And I recognize the names because I've seen them. I may not know your faces, but I've seen these names coming through in the emails, in the work on the platform, in the WhatsApp groups, and so on. So we are trying to maintain and support a community of lead trainers that is working hand in hand to deliver our training products to women entrepreneurs. We have a training of trainer facility that we are about to launch, and we will hear from our colleagues in Nigeria, from the NECA network of entrepreneurial women who are sort of pioneering the work on the training of trainers front. We have training of women entrepreneurs, and that's very, very interesting because different lead trainers in different countries are operating differently. I think I've seen Samu's face at one point on camera. Samu Gumbe, who is, for instance, doing training of women entrepreneurs as YouTube live streams, as many others are doing. Jane Jambi is one who we'll hear from in a moment. Others are doing training of, there's Samu, others are doing training of women entrepreneurs in person and face-to-face. And we have many different, and I think that's the beauty of the model, where we have different trainers working in their local communities and responding to the needs of the people they know and they work with, depending on what makes sense for them. We have an innovation fund available where we can, as a Women in Digital Business initiative, provide support through funding to our trainers who want to keep running the Women in Digital Business initiative in their own context, although we do encourage our trainers to find their own funding mechanisms to be able to keep delivering this offer to women entrepreneurs. And we have a technical assistance facility where we support the localization of our training packages to new languages. We are working, the core languages of work are English, French, and Spanish, but we are expanding to other languages as we go along. In terms of countries, this is a very, very limited scope. These are our official countries that we set as priority in our design stage in 2022. But after the first round of training of lead trainers, we realized that there is a lot of demand in the global south and beyond. So we are now open globally. Any country, any trainer in any country in the world can attend. I think last I checked, we had about 109 countries represented by a mix of trainers and women entrepreneurs. So we are really taking a global scope, very active in the African continent, but then also a lot of activity in Asia and a blooming network of trainers in Latin America. So 3 languages at the moment, fully localized in 3 languages, but then also space to evolve and expand as we go along. The training programs that we offer are 3 families, depending on the level of skill and the profile of the women entrepreneurs that our trainers, all of you, work with. The START program is the one that we expect most, if not all, women entrepreneurs to complete, and it focuses on, it's designed, rather I should start from there, it's designed for those women entrepreneurs who already have a basic understanding of digital tools, but are not using them for business. So it's really about using the tools that these women entrepreneurs might be using in their personal life and transitioning those to business as well. Simple things like being visible online and doing your marketing using your social media, for instance. For those who are have a slightly lower level of understanding of digital, we have a basics program, which is based on pathways for learning that were developed by Microsoft. And this is available to our trainers as well, WIDB Basics. And then we have WIDB Learn, which is really our more advanced package, usually for women entrepreneurs who complete the START program, or also women entrepreneurs who just want to start from there. It's self-guided and it's composed of several building blocks. We have the Women in Digital Business Learn Marketing, Advanced Marketing package that is available fully in the 3 languages. We just signed a new partnership with TechnoServe under sort of the Strive MasterCard program to give access to our network to a training package on e-commerce that will become available at the end of the week in English. And then, as Anu from Microsoft mentioned, we are launching new training packages on AI for business and AI for trainers. If we go rather quickly through our timeline, and I'm, of course, conscious of time here, yeah, we have a timeline that started at the end of 2022 and is going to take us all the way to the end of 2026 in our current capacity and under our current agreement. And started in 2022 with, at the end of 2022, by doing some research and understanding what the women entrepreneurs in the countries that we were targeting were looking for, and designing a training package that would respond to those needs. And he was here in the call with us. My colleague Alessandro has been leading on the content design for the start package there. We developed a platform that you hopefully all have seen and used, which is really the center point and what allows us to be able to connect with our trainers as much as possible and worldwide. In 2023, we launched the first call for lead trainers and ran it. And that's where basically the 6 months in the middle of 2023, we ran a huge number, I think it was 10 training of lead trainers in English, French, and Spanish to build that first cohort of trainers, which in the beginning, there were people didn't know what it was, and we didn't get too much traction. And in fourth quarter of 2023, we launched the training of women entrepreneurs, and that's where I think things starting ballooning, because the word got out. Which meant that in the first quarter, we had to redesign the website to make it fit to the volumes that we were seeing on the platform. In the second quarter of 2024, we started running some monitoring missions to see how women in digital business is performing in different countries in the world. We had one in Morocco. I saw Aisha appearing for a moment on video. We met with the network of trainers in Morocco to just see what their feedback was on the training. And we started running a second training of lead trainers, where we saw a huge demand, and we changed the methodology to fit with a much larger cohort of lead trainers. And now, quarter four, we are developing new content, as I was mentioning, and we are running a third cohort of training of lead trainers, as well as a global webinar and an event that we will hold in Kenya next month, in Nairobi, as well as other parts of Kenya, and we will be in touch with you on the details for that. Maybe to conclude, I would like to talk a bit about our impact and our results up to now. 25,348 women entrepreneurs trained as of today. We got a huge uptake in training in India very recently through a network of Microsoft partner NGOs who trained about half of the number you see here, and half of the trainers as well were trained by them. We issued 81 grants under the Women in Digital Business Innovation Fund and are active in 105 countries. So we're seeing, as I was saying in the beginning of my presentation, the numbers are showing us that we need to reconsider our expectations in positive terms, because I think we have 2 years to go, and I think we can do much more than what we set out to do when we started. Now, I would like to, if you allow me, Sarah, I would like to show another video of testimonials from some of our trainers and some of our women entrepreneurs. As you know, for those of you who are lead trainers, I have been in touch with you asking for testimonials. We didn't have much time for this webinar, so it might be that your video is not in this list, or that I'm not going to show it now, but be sure that we will be using those materials, and we will be coming back to you to get more of those materials, because they were really eye-opening for me, and I'm very excited about those, and I really want to make them shine as we continue. So let me stop this screen sharing and go to the video.
Hello there, my name is Jenny Jambi, and I am a lead trainer at Women in Digital Business. I'm also a woman entrepreneur. I am a freelancer who works from home, and I specialize in web design, digital marketing, and graphics design. I also teach online, and I have been doing it for the last 7 years. So I am from Kenya, a small town called Thika. So, what is my experience in serving women entrepreneurs? I created a WhatsApp group that has 700 women entrepreneurs from all over Africa, where we talk about small businesses and how to digitize them. Also, my experience in serving women, I interact with them on my Facebook group, and this Facebook group has around 1.5k members. 95% are women, and they are women entrepreneurs who want to digitize their businesses. And these women entrepreneurs, we share stories in this Facebook community. It's a private community, and they also get a chance to join Women in Digital Business training program and enroll for the different courses that are on the platform. I also teach these women on YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel that is called WIDB Podcast. It has like 2.4k subscribers, and I usually go live and teach women entrepreneurs on different things regarding digital businesses and digital marketing, following the curriculum provided by WIDB. I decided to join WIDB because I love teaching, you know. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to join WIDB, and then later on I realized, oh, when I put on my portfolio that I am a lead trainer for WIDB, an initiative of Microsoft, ILO, and International Training Center of ILO, people took me seriously. And also, after joining and teaching women, women share with me incredible stories of how they are getting customers from all over the world because of how I took them through the WIDB program, the foundation skills in digital business. A lot of them here in Kenya, they only knew Facebook. Now they know things like Google Ads. Now they know things like Pinterest. So what has been your experience in running the program? Good. Yeah, Carlos is an amazing person. When I was bombarded with questions by women in digital business, Carlos came to our YouTube community. We had like 70 women watching him and listening to him, and he answered a lot of questions on our community on YouTube. So we also have a lead trainer WhatsApp group where Carlos answers. Carlo answers a lot of questions. Also, they answer me on the email. They provide me all the answers in case I'm having a challenge. So my experience in running the program, it's been easy. I get women from Kenya, all over Kenya. I get women from all over Africa. I get women from places I never thought I would get them. It's amazing. So that's it. So thank you so much, and WIDB, continue doing this great work you're doing. Personally, I will never stop bringing in more women, so I will keep telling women about this program because I have a ton of women who ask me where they can learn about digital businesses for free. So please never bring down this website. Just keep up the good work, and I know a lot of women, thousands of women in Africa and all over the world will benefit from this program. So thank you and take care, and bye.
Je m'appelle Kauta Shabi, je suis responsable d'un centre de formation. Avant d'exercer ce métier, en fait, au départ, j'étais directrice pédagogique dans un établissement scolaire un certain nombre d'années. Donc la formation, elle était vraiment ancrée dans mon quotidien. Mais l'idée d'ouvrir un centre pédagogique ou un centre de formation a toujours été présente. Donc juste après le Covid, j'ai été encouragée d'ouvrir le centre. Et j'ai commencé mon activité tout en déléguant en fait tout le côté numérique à une société qui était spécialisée. Mais quand ma collègue Nawel Bakri m'a proposé en fait le programme FAN, c'est-à-dire développer tout le côté numérique pour les femmes entrepreneurs, ça a été vraiment une révélation pour moi parce que ça m'a permis en fait de comprendre tout le système numérique, comment ça se passe, l'apport important du numérique dans un business et aussi d'apprendre le B à bas pour ne plus déléguer ce travail à quelqu'un d'autre, mais de le faire moi-même. Ce qui était intéressant en fait dans tout le côté formation et tout le côté pédagogique du partage de notre formatrice Nawal Bakri, c'était que c'était étape par étape. C'est-à-dire que déjà, le suivi au niveau de la plateforme était vraiment très bien structuré. Donc, il commençait déjà pour les personnes qui étaient novices dans le domaine, qui ne savaient rien du tout. Donc, je devais comprendre que c'était quoi un site web. Je devais comprendre comment on construisait en fait cette plateforme, comment on devait l'alimenter, quel était l'intérêt d'avoir un site web. Donc, c'était une chose qui était très importante. Parce que pour moi, un business, ça se construisait de bouche à oreille. C'est-à-dire que j'avais le premier client, j'avais le deuxième, et au fur et à mesure, je construisais ma réputation. C'est-à-dire que c'était moi qui allais vers mes clients. Par contre, le site web nous facilitait énormément en fait la tâche parce qu'on était présent sur une plateforme et il suffisait que les gens tapaient centre de formation, ils avaient une liste très importante et ils pouvaient accéder à notre centre. Donc pour moi en fait le programme en lui-même a été bénéfique parce que déjà j'étais beaucoup plus indépendante, je pouvais communiquer facilement, je pouvais faire mes petites vidéos toute seule, les partager sur Facebook, sur Instagram.
Mi nombre es Melissa Samaniego, soy de Quito, Ecuador. Mi empresa de chamán y escultor está dedicada a la creación de cuadros con relieves que representan personajes y símbolos del folclore ecuatoriano. Decidí unirme a la iniciativa MED porque creo que la digitalización es esencial para expandir la presencia de mi marca a nivel nacional e internacional. En mi experiencia en este programa ha sido muy valiosa. Me ha permitido aprender nuevas estrategias de marketing, que estoy segura mejorará la manera en cómo compartimos nuestro arte y conectamos con nuestros clientes. Con lo aprendido en este programa voy a implementar nuevas formas de mostrar nuestras obras en línea, mejorar nuestra tienda virtual y optimizar nuestras redes sociales. Me gustaría seguir construyendo la presencia de mi marca en plataformas digitales, facilitando la compra de nuestras piezas y llegando a nuevos mercados, tanto dentro como fuera del Ecuador.
Hey, my name is Judith, and here is my story. First and foremost, I run a travelers hotel. I'm based in Kenya, and the reason why I joined the Women in Digital Business Initiative, because this was a life-changing experience for me, so I wrote it down in my diary, and I'm going to read it as how I wrote it. As a businesswoman running a travelers hotel, I've always strived to provide the best experience for my guests. I realized that to stay competitive, I needed to do more than just offer good hospitality. Many of my guests were booking hotels online, reviewing accommodations on social media, and relying on digital platforms to make travel decisions. I saw this as an opportunity, but I didn't have the digital skills to fully leverage it. That's when I discovered the Women in Digital Business Initiative. So I decided to join the program because I knew that if I wanted my business to continue thriving, I had to embrace the digital space from marketing to online bookings and even guest engagement through social media. Yeah, I saw this initiative as an investment, not just in my business, but in myself as a leader. By learning these new skills, I could confidently steer my business towards a future where technology and hospitality go hand in hand. Yeah, and this is how I applied my digital business training. After completing the Women in Digital Business program, I was happy. I remember telling my friend that I actually got the certificate on my birthday. I was so excited, and I had new ideas to improve my hotel's business. It was a new year, new ideas. So the course provided me with the digital tools and strategies I needed to take my business to the next level. The first step I took was to revamp the hotel's online presence. We had not taken our business online, so that was the first step. I redesigned our website, making it more user-friendly and visually appealing, ensuring guests could easily book rooms and access essential information. I also optimized the site for mobile devices, knowing that many travelers make many bookings on the go. This led to an increase in online reservations as guests found it much easier to navigate and interact with our services. What I did next, I implemented the social media strategies I learned from the course. I created consistent content that highlighted the unique experiences our hotel offers, and then they were engaging posts along with professional photos and videos that helped us connect with potential guests and build a loyal online community. Thank you so much, Women in Digital Business creators.
All right, I think that gives us some idea of what's been going on in the past 2 years. As you've seen, so I've tried to put a selection. So those of you who speak French, you got the video in French, we got a video in Spanish, and we got a video or 2 videos in English. There are many more that we have received. It's been overwhelming. I think we have received 70 videos at least just from women entrepreneurs. So stay tuned, because some of these will go into our channels and you'll be able to see yourself or to see people you know in those videos. But thank you so much for sharing that, and also for, I think it was very impactful for me to actually, see what happens beyond the names and the messages that we're receiving, and hear the stories from women who are actually benefiting from these trainings. I think that I'm slightly over time. Maybe one quick message also to segue us into the next step is that we, as I mentioned, and you will hear from them, we're starting to pilot some institutional partnerships where we are able to provide some longer term support to in a first instance to trainers who are affiliated to an organization. So if you are affiliated to an organization that wants to train more than one trainer, or where you have more than one trainer in the same organization, we might be able to discuss more in-depth exchanges that have, of course, a funding component to them, but also a stronger ties between the Women in Digital Business Initiative and your organization. If you want to register as or request an institutional partnership and you are a lead trainer, you can go into the application space that you have used to become a lead trainer, and you will find that there is a new questionnaire that you can fill out that is going to ask you some information about your institution, and we will take it from there. So I think that's all from me for now. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Carlo, for that great presentation and for sharing that wonderful video with us. I think I see the comments in the chat, and I think we were all impressed with the testaments and what we got to hear. Maybe what we can add also is for those who are here with us today who are not lead trainers and who would like to become part of the Women in Digital Business Initiative, or who's seeing opportunities to engage and to complement the work that's being done or amplifying the work that's being done, then there's an opportunity also to get in touch with us.
I'm just showing how to register as lead trainers. Very quickly. So yeah, if you want to get in touch, go, and you're not a lead trainer, you can go over to widb.network. You will find the login page in the top right here, and when you register, you will have several options, and one of these is who are you? I want to become a lead trainer. And that way you'll have access to the application form that allows you to join the network. Sorry for cutting you in, Sarah. Back to you.
No, this is great to share the information, and also for those who I see, for instance, that we have colleagues in the chat who wants to know more about the curriculum, then don't hesitate to reach out also via email. We can share in the chat the WIDB chat email, and also you are always welcome to reach out to wed@ilo.org as well, and we'll facilitate contacts and bring you on board. Good, so it's time for us to move from this first part of our webinar into the second half, in which we will invite a couple of panelists to join us for a discussion around how to leverage these kinds of partnerships to empower women entrepreneurs, to allow them to access and to benefit from digital technologies, markets, and also safe spaces online. So as our first panelist, I would like to introduce Abisola Oshodi, who is a product manager with NU, or the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association's network of entrepreneurial women. So Abisola, you're overseeing the work related to women in digital business for NU, but amongst many other things. So thank you so much for joining us here today. So secondly, I would like to introduce Jaylan El-Shazly, who is the Inclusive Technology Specialist with the International Finance Corporation, and who is also a greatly appreciated former colleague of us here at the ILO WED program. So thank you so much, Jaylan, for joining us. And then, unfortunately, also our third speaker, Catherine Townsend, who was originally supposed to join us from Women's Rights Online. She's unable to join us today, so we're sending her, our well wishes. We hope to see her in another session soon. But that said, instead of Catherine, we have with us Marva Azelmat, who is the advocacy lead at Women's Rights Online and a digital rights expert at RNW Media. So thank you so much, Marva, also to you for joining us at such short notice. So welcome again also to all three of you, and just thank you so much for being willing to be here to share more about the work that you're doing, and to also share your expertise and knowledge. So Marva, I will turn to you with the first question in this panel discussion. So as part of your work, you're focusing on driving women's empowerment through the web. Your work is focusing on engaging in research, in advocacy to ensure that women have meaningful connectivity, that they can enjoy the full power of internet access, as well as the skills and the opportunities to participate in the digital revolution privately and freely. So from your point of view, what are some of the unique challenges that you see that women entrepreneurs are facing online when trying to access digital markets, technologies, and other opportunities? And what are some of the key gaps or barriers that are causing this gender digital divide?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone from the Netherlands. Thank you for having me on such a short notice and for accommodating the change as well in the panel. So just drawing from my experience at the Women's Rights Online Network, but also as someone who has been supporting emerging women digital entrepreneurs, particularly in quite like restrictive markets like the Middle East region and also across Africa. I've observed several unique challenges that are really gendered and in nature and pertaining to women they face when trying to access and thrive in digital markets, but also while using technologies. And first, of course, there is the ongoing digital divide, because while the internet access is improving globally, many women, especially in underserved areas, still lack reliable, affordable access to technology. But the issue goes beyond connectivity because it's deeply rooted in an environment of social justice and economic status, how we perceive women economically. Um, and now we also have the growing AI divide where women are being excluded from the benefits of AI driven technologies due to lack of resources and training and knowledge. And we know that AI is rapidly reshaping business landscapes and it is here to stay. So we need to find a way with it. So women risk, of course, falling even further behind. And as I said, digital divides are rooted in social justice, meaning that digital markets are not designed for the realities of women's lives. They're not informed by these realities, particularly for those juggling caregiving responsibilities. Many digital platforms demand constant availability and competitiveness, which are traits that are often male dominated. So women who often have the dual like role of caregivers find themselves disadvantaged because they have to be in markets that reward 24/7 engagement and somewhat aggressive like business practices. And these market structures online are not conducive to the realities of women digital entrepreneurs. And that imbalance needs to be addressed again within the scope of digital divide and how we can serve women once they access the web. And another critical issue that is also pertaining to women and that is very gendered in nature is funding and resources. Many of the challenges specific to women digital entrepreneurs, such as tech-facilitated gender-based violence, are not prioritized by donors or investors. They're recognized, but they're not prioritized. Funding for these issues, including like safety, structural inequalities that women face online, they're not at the top of people's minds, and sometimes they're not really seen as like a critical technical barrier. And this results in a silo that we observe and lack of course, resources and support for businesses that are often purpose focused and that are led by women. And just a simple example, like in femtech, which is technology for females' health, we've seen that the most successful ventures are led by men, which is like quite crazy. They have been able to secure funding for femtech and lead femtech ventures that are designed for women. So without addressing these fundamental issues, women are, of course, much more vulnerable to a lack of like access to resources, whether like knowledge, training, or funding money. And for the gaps, I would just like to like it cannot be overstated. Digital economy means knowledge economy, and knowledge economy means knowledge gap. Like it's not just about internet access; it's about skills, languages. The knowledge economy is led by English-speaking like resources and markets, and that are much more thriving than other markets that are much more volatile, restrictive, especially now in under an economic inflation that is much more restricting digital markets where languages are somewhat not spoken globally. And this knowledge economy is very, very important to tackle as a gap, crucial to, to work on digital literacy, financial knowledge, and technical skills. Uh, Most often women, even with the right digital tools, they don't have the right financial skills, or they don't have the right knowledge of the digital market itself, which platforms they need to use, which digital tools they need to leverage, and how they can understand these markets, especially if they're just leading a small digital business or they're just starting off. Um, Important to acknowledge the study of this knowledge economy in a way that is contextualized. And of course, again, like another critical barrier is the lack of women-centered impact funds and ventures. We can see this for instance, in the US or in Europe, but it's not top of mind in other critical markets where women are more of a disadvantage because of their economic status and social status. So we don't find ventures that cater for female-centered products or services that can also be undermined online because of censorship. And we've worked with a lot of women digital entrepreneurs that find their products censored by digital platforms because they're catering to a specific market and to a specific niche that is catered to women, but that is not seen as a priority for digital platforms like Meta or Snapchat or TikTok or others. So they find themselves not understanding the linkage between the market, the platform, and the product itself. And as I said, in volatile and restrictive markets, this can be even more challenging. So investors, and we need these impact funds and these partnerships that cater to a conducive environment and a conducive ecosystem where we can focus on building women-centered funds, training programs, and market structures that provide women with the skills, knowledge, and financial support where they can thrive, but they can also thrive in a way that is friendly to their also role as caregivers or to the other roles as women in their own economic and social status.
Thank you so much, Marva, for that, for really positioning this discussion and for highlighting some of the unique challenges that women are facing in terms of accessing and also thriving online. You've highlighted things like structural barriers that are creating these digital injustices, funding, and also gaps when it comes to knowledge, language as part of that knowledge economy. Jaylan, I want to move to you next. And as part of your work at IFC, so you lead the Digital to Equal program that brings together global technology companies to advance gender equality in emerging markets through commitments to create opportunities for women in areas such as employment, entrepreneurship, and access to services. So according to you, what role does private stakeholders, global technology companies play more specifically in enabling women entrepreneurs to participate in the digital economy and in bridging some of these gaps that we now have discussed? And what would need to be in place for these stakeholders to successfully engage?
Thank you, Sarah. It's so great to be part of this wonderful event with my old team. Yes, our program, the Digital to Equal, it actually ended a couple of years ago. So we ran this program from 2018 to 2022. And the aim was to increase women's participation in the platform economy in two key ways. And the first way was to get different platform companies together, both global, think Airbnb, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also more regional ones. So think Elo7 in Brazil, think Mercado Libre in Latin America, or South Sweep in South Africa, Jumia in Africa, Lazada in Southeast Asia. And we put them together and asked them to make commitments around gender, such as closing the gender gap, increasing the number of women using their platform, doing specific training and education for them. And then we observed the results for that. And on top of that, we've also partnered with e-commerce platform and e-commerce platforms and e-learning platform to do some analysis into like what are women's participation levels, what are challenges and actions they can take to boost participation. And I think that the private sector, especially like platforms, which is an ever expanding field of business of work and for women and women entrepreneurs specifically, have a huge role to play in increasing that. But the key thing that we need to make sure that these platforms look at that as a business opportunity, not just as a CSR venture or like a philanthropic effort that they are doing. It makes business sense to include more women. It adds value, and we've seen that in our research. We've seen that if e-commerce platforms in Africa and in Southeast Asia bring the sales levels of women closer to equal that of men, there's like $300 billion that they can gain. That's $300 billion that go into women's pockets, but also benefit these platforms. So we see that there is a strong business benefit here. Now, if I were to make recommendations based on our work on what the private sector companies can do, I would summarize that in 3 key things, because all good things come in 3. The first thing is to collect and hopefully, ideally, share sex disaggregated data on the usage of their platform. Just collecting this data and seeing it gives so many insights to what they can do and how they can improve access for women. We've seen, for example, in online education, when we partnered with Coursera to look at how women are using EdTech to advance their careers. We found that women are only 1/3 of their online learners in Africa, in Southeast Asia, and in the Middle East. So that's a big gap. We understood also that affordability is a key issue. Women are more likely to rely on free or audited courses, and are less likely than men to use personal savings to pay for online courses. We saw some huge time constraints on women. So women on average spend less time learning online, are more likely to drop out from paid courses, citing mostly family obligations as the reason. But we've also found some cool findings that like half of the entrepreneurs that joined to launch their own businesses succeeded in doing so, and that those were equal results for both men and women. So it's a huge opportunity, and these insights will help these companies attract more women and support them and provide tools. For example, creating shorter trainings, shorter instances, downloadable content, mobile-friendly content, so that women can learn on the go and it can adapt to women's needs. So these are some examples of how something like sex disaggregated data can benefit companies and promote this. The second thing, which ties a lot to what we're discussing here, is acknowledge and address digital skills gaps between men and women. And that's what's so great about this program, is that you're trying to address digital skills shortage by working with the women, by training women to train other women so that they can use these tools better. And that's a key thing that we need to work on addressing, and companies need to also invest in acknowledging that and also designing for that. So, for example, we know that women lag men in terms of digital skills. They're 25% less likely than men to know how to do basic tech-related skills, like, for example, having a simple math formula in a spreadsheet. And this divide grows further and further the more sophisticated these skills become. But in order to master like the digital economy, you need to be able to have some affinity. We know, for example, that women that use e-commerce platforms like Jumia and Lazada, the ones we did a study on, they're less likely to use value-added services like promotions. And they said that they place a very high value on the training and support that is offered to the platform. So by designing for those needs, we can ensure that women's needs are addressed. And we're trying to get them to use the platforms more and better. And that results in prosperity for the women, but also gains for platforms and companies. And finally, the last thing, and I'll be brief so I don't go on for a long time, is hiring more women. At the end of the day, like there's a saying in the disability world that says nothing about us without us. And you'll see it translates also very well to women in the tech world. Women are still only 1/3 of employees in the tech sector, in the ICT sector. And one of the main ways where we can ensure gender inclusive design of services is making sure that women are in the room where this happens, also quoting from a famous song. So I'm quoting from all other people here. We need to make sure that women are there so their voices are heard when we are designing these programs. Hiring women is a key thing, not just women in HR and in marketing and in administration, etc. No, women in product design that are actually delivering core services because they have a different perspective, and it pays off, and it's a key way to unlocking women's participation in the digital economy. So yeah, 3 things: sex disaggregated data, acknowledge and address digital skills gaps between men and women, and hire more women. Those are the 3 things I would say private sector needs to do to support and grow women's role in the digital economy.
Thank you, Jaylan. I think those are some great tips, and I think also the work that we need to do also in terms of emphasizing the business case that is in investing and supporting women entrepreneurs, I think came out strongly as well in your remarks here. Abisola, I will hand over now to you, and I will want to ask you, because NU is one of the first institutional partners of the Women in Digital Business Initiative, and as the project manager leading this work, you have in the last year ensured that NU could assist more than 1,000 women entrepreneurs with support. So what are some of the reasons that made NU decide to become part of the Women in Digital Business Initiative? And what would you say are some of the benefits of engaging with other stakeholders in these types of partnerships? How can these global national partnerships enhance the impact of associations such as NU? Over to you, Abisola. If you're still with us, that is. Can you hear us, Abisola? Let's see. I think we dropped or we lost Abisola there for a while. So while we're waiting for her to come back, maybe what I can do is I have another question for both of you, Marva and Jaylan, and I see that time is running quickly here, so I will ask you to keep your remarks relatively short when you're replying. Jaylan, so maybe we can talk a little bit about access to finance. So have you seen in your work that access to finance is something that's critical for women's participation in the digital economy, and also that mobilizing financing is crucial for bridging these gaps? So what specific strategies or models have you seen that are or have proven to be effective in helping women entrepreneurs to access funding and support for digital tools and platforms? And also, if you, from the perspective of IFC, which is also a member of the World Bank Group, how can financial institutions, including development banks and private sector investors, how can they also be part of mobilizing resources more effectively to support women entrepreneurs in accessing these spaces online and the digital economy?
Thank you. So I think, well, access to finance is a huge barrier in every tech vertical we look into. Every study we do, be that in e-learning, be that in e-commerce, anything that we do, access to finance becomes a huge finding for us. So I'll take three verticals to quickly show what are some of the things that we found, and also what are some interesting solutions that we've done that would be interesting. So one of the things that we this year we published a study on women and fintech, and we found that we surveyed 114 fintech firms in 17 countries, and the majority of them, all of them, showed that women are less than 25% of their customers, and the women-owned SMEs are less than a quarter of most fintech firms' portfolio, especially the ones that provide digital lending, payment, savings, insurance. So that's a very, very low number. And we know that women in emerging markets are less likely to have a bank account. There's a big financing gap for women-owned SMEs that accounts to like 1.5 trillion. So fintech is a key opportunity to expand women entrepreneurs' access to finance. It also provides interesting ways to alternative collaterals to facilitate this. So one of the things that stands in the way of women using this more is access to devices. So last year, IFC partnered with a fintech platform called M-Kopa in East Africa, which will allow women in rural communities in Kenya and Uganda to purchase smartphones, and they're viewing smartphones as productive assets that women can then use to access more business opportunities. So it is interesting when you start looking at these platforms and what they can do to expand, what type of solutions they can do to expand access to smartphones, and then also in extension access to their services, and then we help women grow their participation. So that's one example in the fintech world. In e-commerce is also another very interesting avenue, these platforms, to extend access to finance, and also addresses informality somehow, because women operating on e-commerce platforms, the more they formalize, the bigger they can become, the more they can grow. So when we looked at several platforms, and Jumia, for example, they have access to finance on their platform, but only 7% of women use this platform, whereas 11% of men use it. Still low numbers overall, but women are less likely to use it, even though they're more likely to be approved for these loans. So one of the ways that an organization like IFC would do it is we've partnered with Sirebox as one of the IFC's investees, and it's an e-commerce platform that works with food products from farmers, including smallholder farmers, and sells them to consumers in Indonesia. And what they do is they offer an embedded financing solution to their farmers in collaboration with a fintech. So using e-commerce as a gateway to addressing those access to finance challenges for women and women micro entrepreneurs. We also see it in edtech. Women face challenges in paying for their education. So one of the things that we haven't addressed yet, but ideally we should address, is trying to make sure that there are loans and options that are afforded to women entrepreneurs. And I think organizations like IFC and other development finance institutions need to use different instruments available to them to motivate companies to do that. So things like sustainability-linked loans, like financing, where you're incentivizing whoever you invest in to meet goals like being more inclusive to women. So these are different tools that you have at a disadvantage. And of course, investing in women entrepreneurs, that's also goes without saying, but you can have a wider reach if you work through the organizations that you invest in. So yeah, I'll pause there because I guess we're running close to time. So.
No, but thank you. I mean, what you're sharing is very interesting, Jaylan, and I think you covered, despite me asking you to keep it short, I think you, in a concise way, were able to convey a lot of information. So thank you so much for that. We have Abisola back, I believe. Abisola, are you now with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I got through now. Sorry.
No worries at all. It's this is the reality that we live with online sometimes. So no worries. Maybe Abisola, if you want to come in, I was just asking you the question earlier around your work in new assisting women entrepreneurs with support through the Women in Digital Business initiative. And I highlighted also the results that you have achieved in terms of supporting more than 1,000 women entrepreneurs so far. So maybe if you want to share with us some of the reasons that made you decide to become a partner of Women in Digital Business, and also if you can maybe elaborate a little bit on some of the benefits of engaging with other stakeholders in these types of partnerships.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for that. I'm aware that we're running out of time. So post-COVID, one of the primary reasons why we partnered with WIDB, the initiative, is that we realized post-COVID that our women they face changes in consumer behavior. They experience significant demand for online services, service fulfillment, and they lack the skill to promote and sell their products online and their services online. While we had tried to develop our own program, one of the things that then happened is that WIDB came along. WIDB has helped us tremendously to empower women, with digital skills. The brand, the brand and the partners have made it the program quite attractive to a larger female community than we would have been able to do on our own. Another reason is WIDB has offered us a program that we can run online, so it's cost effective for us as a group. We are able to address a larger community. We can engage many more people, both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. So we have participants who come on from, even outside Nigeria. So another thing is the clarity and the speedy resolutions offered by the WIDB LMS team, and the way they encouraged us, has made us very comfortable to work with the team to empower women, and so with the needed skill. And we're able now, they have more visibility and resultant growth from being able to put their businesses on the online. Yeah. So benefits for us in partnering. One of it is that obviously we've been able to do more than we would have been able to do on our own. So we're privileged to engage with stakeholders. We've actually worked with ILO on projects such as the WeCheck program, with some financial institutions, FCMB, on some monitoring programs, which have really helped us. The benefits are multifaceted. Our women have been exposed to both capacity building, advisory services, market access in the partnerships. They have access to finance of some form and other benefits, which has actually enhanced our impact, and it has actually led us to other doors for implementing, for getting involved in policy dialogue. We then are called to the table, like the previous speaker was saying, that we're then called to the table when conversations are being held that would affect the women entrepreneurs in Nigeria. Yes, so yeah, those are some of the benefits. We also have the opportunity to work with the stakeholders who are then addressing areas where we don't have the capacity or resources to leverage on as a BMO. And so, for example, like a DRPC who tries to encourage doing well for the government, they push for us to make sure that women issues are properly funded in federal budgets, in state budgets. And that comes from being able to partner with other organizations and stakeholders. Yeah, so those are some of our reasons, the benefits of us engaging. Increased access, more training, access to a more extensive offering than we can provide on our own. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Abisola, and we're glad that you could come back again to share those words with us. I think your comment on working with other stakeholders to amplify the work that you do and also address some of the issues that women are facing when trying to participate in the digital economy by working with others and through different angles and entry points. I think that was great. So time is out. Unfortunately, I think we could have continued for another hour if we would have wanted to discussing this topic, but thank you so much to the panelists. It was a shame that we didn't have as much time as we had hoped to hear from you, but I think still what was highlighted in terms of some of the structural barriers that women are still facing and that needs to be addressed through these partnerships and through other means for women to have equal access to digital spaces. I think that was the message that we heard clearly, and I think also we got a lot of solutions and tips and opportunities on how to engage that and how different stakeholders can engage to address these challenges that we see. So thank you very much to you. I would also like to thank, just before we close, everyone who's been involved in the preparation and execution of the webinar on behalf of the 3 organizing organizations. And of course, also thank you so much to all of you who are here and who joined us and who decided to participate today. We would like, as a final message, also just encourage all of you to join Women in Digital Business if you have interest after joining us today. And as we previously shared, you can reach out to us through the website or also through the emails that's been shared in the chat. So thank you everyone again so much for today, and have a nice rest of your day or evening, depending on where in the world that you are at the moment. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.